one, and we are live here for another edition of Connor and Mark's show podcast. Doing remotely again, alongside Mark Rogers. I'm Connor Gabe. So, Mark, how you doing?
Good, man. How you doing? I'm
Barely.
happy to be here again and talk some sports.
I know. Well, there's not a lot of sports to be talking about, but obviously we want to keep everybody up to date with everything that's going on in the sports world due to the coronavirus pandemic that's going on right now. All seasons are still suspended indefinitely until further notice. But there's still some events that are going to be going down later in the month. Since we're in the month of April, the NFL draft is going to be coming up later. I believe the 27th of April. And,
I think 23rd or 25th.
I'll look it up just to make sure. But yeah, so that's gonna be. It was gonna originally be in Las Vegas, but I believe they're gonna move it to some sort of studio, maybe in New York. I don't know. I can't say to be sure, but they actually no. You're right. The NFL draft will be April 23rd to 25th. So they're still gonna be broadcasting it. I think all the teams are gonna be in their rooms or in their own cities, not going anywhere. Same thing with the prospects that are going to be drafted. They're going to be staying in their hometowns, in their house. So it's going to be a different feel to this year's draft, but at least we still have that, in the time where we have no sports going on currently right now. So also in other sports news, I know I heard Wimbledon. I'm not a big tennis fan, but Wimbledon just canceled for the first time, I think, since World War II.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was another
crazy fact. I did not know that.
Yeah, a lot of these, leagues and sports have not seen anything like this since maybe like 9/11 canceling games or World War II, World War One. It's been a while since something like this has happened. So there's obviously a crazy thing going on, but there's still the NFL draft is still something for us to look forward to as sports fans and everything going on in the NFL free agency and the NFL draft too.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you flip to any sports channel right now, Sports Center, all over, it's just, NFL draft, NFL free agency. And, I mean, that's pretty much like you said, there really is all to talk about at the moment. But, yeah, I mean, the draft is coming up, and a lot of talk is around the top 5 picks. I mean, it's pretty crazy other than the Bengals at 1 taking Burrow, which is probably a lock.
Yeah.
2 through 5 is a little rough with the Redskins, Lions, Giants, and the Dolphins at 5. So a lot of talk of maybe Herbert going above Tua for injury reasons. And then Isaiah Simmons, who we talked pretty highly of last week, they have him going 4 to the Giants. So
yeah, he seems like the kind of guy that, when you look at the top 5, there's a couple locks at certain positions. I know I saw a report earlier in the week, I think it was from the Miami Herald, that said that the Dolphins are going to try their hardest to move up to number 1 to take Burrow. I don't see Cincinnati probably moving from that spot. I think they're probably locked in on their guy at this point. But yeah, they have a lot of picks. I don't know. I can't recall the number of picks they have, but they have, I think, the most in this draft.
Yeah, so, I want to say they have 6 picks in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, so they got a lot of draft capital to move up and maybe make a move like that. But I just don't see the Bengals moving off that one spot and just going with their gut and taking Joe Burrow. So if you're the Dolphins, I could see them moving up to where the Lions pick just to secure and make sure they get that quarterback that they want, whether it's Herbert or Tua, we don't know. But that's gonna be interesting to see if the Dolphins do become really aggressive with all the picks they have and try to get their guy. If I was them, I think Tua. I still think he's more talented than Herbert, but if the medicals don't come out the way they think it is, then maybe Herbert's a better option for the long term. I don't know. I know you're high on Herbert, and you think that in the mock draft that we did, you think Herbert's going to go above Tua. I'd be shocked if I saw that, but
yeah, I would be shocked to see that, and a lot of it's just the hype that Tua brings with him. Obviously, playing at Alabama, being a top college football school in the country, and deservingly so. He did accomplish a lot of great things at Alabama, and he performed as a top 5 quarterback. But in saying that, and how you kind of alluded to the long term of Herbert for the Dolphins, I just see that as a better fit. I really think that Dolphins are really making good, smart moves that aren't putting them in bad positions. Sign a guy like Byron Jones on a young team where he can be that cornerstone of that secondary. Know he's going to be a leader, gets that money, performs well. I don't see that being a bust. Sadly, bringing in Jordan Howard from the Eagles, who I've thought very highly of, when he played here last year. So I think they're making a lot of good steps in the right direction. And, Tua has a lot of questions surrounding him about injuries, and I don't see that in Herbert. And I see he has tons of athletic ability. So I'm sticking to Herbert going 5 to the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a guy that I think is definitely going to be going, close to the top 5. I think, with teams in the draft, they get desperate with guys, with quarterbacks, especially high up. So they're going to be aggressive and make a trade up. So, we'll see what happens with there. I know the Eagles, who are slotted at 21, people don't really know, who's going to be left there for them at 21. There's some teams that need wide receivers before them, and that is their biggest need. Guys like Henry Ruggs, Jacoby, Jerry Jeudy, and CeeDee Lamb are guys that are looked at as, the top guys in this draft. And will they fall to them? I doubt it. But, there's guys like Justin Jefferson you could probably get at 21, or there's other options, or you can just not even go wide receiver. There's some safeties that could be available, or we don't know if Jalen Mills is going to be a long-term answer, or safety. If there's a safety that falls, then maybe you take him, or maybe there's a linebacker that drops. They're still they're pretty thin at linebacker depth-wise. So there's a lot of a lot of ways they can go here. But I know that the fans are going to be pounding the desk for a wide receiver to drop, and I don't know if the top 3 guys that are looked at are going to be there. I think they're going to have to trade up to maybe around the 15, 14 spot. But, it's something that's going to be interesting because they don't have a lot of picks in this draft. I know they traded away a third for Slay. Mm-hmm. So, they're probably going to have to stay put and just wait for somebody to fall to them at 21.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I mean, this wide receiver class is the depth's unreal. It's kind of nothing like we've seen in the past few years. So I think that definitely plays in the hands of the Eagles. But like you said, like these guys are top level guys. Ruggs has, after his turnout at the combine, his stock's done nothing but absolutely soared. I think they project him now as a top 12 pick. So, when you start mixing those guys in there, like Lamb, Jeudy, who else is there? Ruggs. Mm-hmm. It starts to get congested at the top of the board with wide receivers. So I think, like you said, it's gonna have to play out in the Eagles' hands, and I don't really see them moving up, unless something really, unless Ruggs is maybe 2 picks away or 3 picks away, or a guy like that they see. But yeah, I don't really see them really with a lot of ammunition to fire guys away for picks at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with that, and we'll kind of. I want to shift to the free agency news today because there has been some meetings with the Eagles front office. They've been doing virtual meetings, probably over Zoom or some type of app over computer. But today they've interviewed Penn State wide receiver KJ Hamler, who has been a guy you can look around the second round, in a deep wide receiver class. He's a guy that you can get later in the draft for high value if you decide to go another direction in the first round. They had a meeting with left tackle from Houston, Josh Jones. And they also had an interview with, I believe, Washington center Nick Harris over FaceTime. So there's been a couple guys they've interviewed. I know KJ Hamler's been named that a lot of guys like. He's a Penn State guy, and he was the number 1 player on Penn State's offense last year. He's a small, fast quick twitch guy. Played slot a lot, I think, at Penn State, but could he move to the outside? If they want him to. But if they think that there's a guy at 21 that they don't think that is worthy at wide receiver, but they think they see a linebacker or a safety or somebody else that they'd rather take there who could start right away, I'd rather do that and then go in the second round and hopefully get like a KJ Hamler or a second round wide receiver and just bank on that.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting. I actually have heard Hamler's name starting to come up in like the first round. And a few mock drafts I looked at today, Hamler's like on the latter end of the first round, like 29, 30, 31, floating around that position. So Like I said, there's so many wide receivers in this draft that they can play into a lot of play into the favor into a lot of teams, just with their schemes and it's what they see in them. So there's a lot of talent, but that also means teams that may not be at the forefront of looking for a wide receiver, they may see a guy at good value in the draft and decide to take him. So it's going to be, it's going to be a dogfight to get a receiver in the first round without possibly trading up. Could be for the Eagles. So
Yeah, I mean,
Hamler would be a great guy in the second round. I totally agree.
yeah, and we'll see what happens with more with that. I know mock drafts will be coming out hopefully soon. I don't know how far we are away from the draft. We got today's Wednesday, so it's about 1, 2, 3 weeks until the draft.
Mm-hmm.
So we're 3 weeks in one day. But yeah, so it's gonna be coming up. But in free agency news today, Super Bowl champion for the Eagles, Tim Jernigan, signed a deal with the Houston Texans. So it's a 1-year deal, and he's gonna be going to Houston. Not surprising because they brought in Javon Hargrave from Pittsburgh. They still have Malik Jackson, and just seemed that the defensive tackle was already filled up. It's a really stacked position on this roster. So, Tim Jernigan, is a good young player. He came in and played well, during the Super Bowl year, and he got banged up the years after that. So, I think obviously not a surprising move, but I'm still confident in this defensive front. Obviously with Fletcher Cox, man in the front, and then bringing in a young guy like Hargrave, and still having Malik Jackson who you can bank on, hopefully to stay healthy. But when he's out there, he's a good player. So I'm still confident in that and what the defensive line is going to bring this team.
Yeah, I think that the defensive line is very populated for the Eagles, and it's tough to see Jernigan go. But some of these young guys, they definitely want to start giving a shot and allowing Hargrave to come in and kind of not really fill the shoes of Cox, but Cox is getting a little older, and they want to put another guy in place who's going to take his role when he goes in the next few years. So, and I really think it's interesting to watch Ngakoue. I mean, I know we're saying the defensive line is crowded as of now, and Ngakoue only makes it obviously more crowded. But seems like he really wants to play here in Philadelphia. He puts up multiple pictures alluding to legends of the Eagles and Reggie White and Brian Dawkins. So it's going to be really interesting in the next few weeks, not just for the Eagles, but the entire NFL and what they do leading up to the draft, I think.
Yeah, it's an interesting name. Yeah, like you said, there's not a lot of room on the line, but I mean, for a guy like him, you make room. Uh, he's such a disruptor and a really good player
Oh,
on
yeah.
the end. So if you have Graham, then you got Fletcher Cox, and then you got Hargrave, and you can throw in Malik Jackson, then you got Derek Barnett.
Yeah.
Even though Brandon Graham's still got some left in the tank, he's still a really good player. And Derek Barnett is a good player. I don't think he's a bad player at all, but he hasn't really developed as fast, I think, as they wanted him to.
Mhm.
And Ngakoue is a guy who can come in and be one of the best, pass rushers, I think, in the game. And he can make this defensive line the best in the NFL. And then you can, you bring in a guy like Slay, which is probably the best corner they've had for a while, probably like, since Asante Samuel. So, bringing a guy like, him and Roby Coleman, who they just signed not that long ago. And you got this new look secondary and a really good front. This defense can probably – is starting to shape up more like, the 2017 season compared to the 2018, 2019 season. Maybe you could bank on it, that defense being able to lead us back to, a deep run in the playoffs. But it's a lot. I mean, they're asking for a first-round pick, and would I give it up? If I was us, I'd be hesitant to. I know what you're getting at an Ngakoue, though, but you still have that whole wide receiver. And I'm
Mhm.
not saying you need a number one wide receiver, but you still need someone on the outside that has the threat of going downfield. And I know Jackson can do that, but he's just getting up there in age. He's getting hurt, and he's just getting older. So, I think that I don't know if it's gonna be hard to turn down an offer if it comes down just to a first round pick for Ngakoue. It'll be hard to turn down.
Yeah, I mean, he's a ferocious animal on the line, and I think obviously he would bring nothing but productivity to the line. But in saying that, I mean, the big picture here really is the wide receivers, and Wentz made it really work last year. But you can't again expect him to go out with those wide receivers and make a deep run in the playoffs. So I really do think that wide receiver has to be prioritized and prioritized, you know, making an educated decision as, you know, not just, like you said, training away for somebody. So, you know, it's going to be interesting. But the wide receiver is the biggest thing. So, I mean, what do you think about maybe trading a first rounder for a more established wide receiver? I mean, not exceptional. Obviously, not going to get an elite guy just for a first round pick, but
Yeah, it depends on how much money the player's going to cost, and how many years he's going to be signed under. I don't know. I don't know what wide receivers are on the market. I think Cleveland's fine with Odell right now. I think they want to keep him for the long haul, and they don't want to ship him away after 1 year. I doubt Atlanta wants to trade with Julio Jones. I mean, obviously he's one of the best wide receivers in the game. I know Brandon Cooks' name has been floated out around there a lot.
I was going to just bring him up.
Yeah, he seems like a guy. He's small, fast. He puts up numbers wherever he's been, but he's been on a lot of teams his whole career, and he's been a little injury prone too. So I forget his cap hit. I'm sure it's pretty big though.
I'm pretty sure he's getting paid.
Yeah, so I don't know. It depends how much. You would definitely want to trade a first round pick for him though, especially with the number he's bringing in. So it'd probably be like a third round pick, fourth round pick maybe. But I don't know. It depends if they want to carry that cap number in the next year. Because I don't know. I think they're a little tighter against the cap the following season once Wentz money kicks in, and they have other people to pay. So, he's a guy who would fit really well. I like his style of play, and I really like the player. I don't know if he has any locker room problems because he's been on a lot of teams, but he's got a lot of speed and he can get downfield. He's like one of the better deep threats, like with Deshaun Jackson and obviously Tyreek Hill. So if it's around a third, fourth round pick, I definitely consider it.
Yeah, I agree too. But I mean, yeah, you could find a good receiver for some later round picks, but kind of like you said, they don't have a lot of picks this year, as many as they've had in the past few years. So they're definitely going to have to keep those conservatively and not just trade them for wide receivers. But now moving on.
You just want to touch on this. I just saw this on the NFL that Patriots just released Cody Kessler, which leaves him down with two quarterbacks. I think it Jared Stidham and Brian Hoyer. So there's a report that came out. Patriots still have no interest in Andy Dalton and Cam Newton. So they said and the report says that Jared Stidham's on track to start. So it feels like this is going to be a pretty down year where they're relying on a rookie to start a quarterback.
Yeah, so that's actually interesting. So before we move on, so Cam Newton obviously and Winston, the two biggest names that haven't been signed yet. I don't know if Cam's going to play this year. What do you think?
Well, I think he'll play. I think maybe the Chargers would be a good fit. I don't know. It seems like if I was a Charger, front office guy, I'd try and draft Tua or Justin Herbert. But
I think they're going to go more in the direction of the younger. I don't really think anyone really wants Cam at the moment, just with the injury. Well, the biggest thing is the independent doctor that was going to perform the physical on him, just because, with everything going on right now. But until he can get an actual team doctor to test him out for the physical, I don't think anyone's going to want to sign him with the injury history he's had. So
yeah, I think that when you get this late in the free agency, I think that it's starting to become these guys are going to be signed, are going to be fighting for jobs. They're not going to be like defined starters like Brady was, or other guys that got signed early on, like Teddy Bridgewater. Sounds like he's going to be the starter over in Carolina. So I think guys like Jameis and Cam Newton and Andy Dalton, these are guys who are fringe starters now. If I had to bank on one of the guys, I'd probably bank on, I don't know who I'd bank on. But it wouldn't be, obviously, it wouldn't be Andy Dalton. It'd probably be between Cam Newton or Jameis Winston. But both those guys have had problems off the field, too.
Yeah.
So, you can see these guys are, they obviously have the talent. Cam Newton's been injured a little bit, which has been a problem with him. But he's obviously has, the size and athleticism, and he's still got a big arm, too. But, guys like him and James Winston, they're gonna have to battle for jobs. So I still think the Chargers bringing in a guy would be good. They have Tyrod Taylor, who's been around for a little while, but if they brought in like Cam Newton and like let's say Chargers got like Tua Tagovailoa, you can be like we'll start Cam because they both have similar styles a little bit. But if I go, I'd maybe go Cam the first year and start him, and then I
Mhm.
maybe for how long does it go? It's probably not gonna be a full year, but maybe go like if Cam Newton struggles after like 10 weeks, then throw Tua in. It's kind of just like a transition guy. Sounds like a short term deal. I'd like that move for the Chargers.
Yeah, it's so interesting just because there's so many spots when you think around the league that they potentially could go to, then it's you know, it doesn't really make sense. Like I was thinking possibly the Colts, but the Colts have the 13th pick in the draft and they just signed Rivers to that 1 year, 25 million, and then they have Brissett. So I don't
Mhm.
really think that battle could happen. Everyone's pointing at the Chargers, but it's kind of like you said, the Chargers have the 6th pick. I believe the 6th pick. I'm pretty sure.
I think they're the fifth pick. No, I'm wrong. Miami's
Nah,
the fifth pick.
Dolphins are 5th.
Yeah,
But they have a top 8 pick. I know that for sure.
yeah.
And yeah, they're 6. So I mean, they could definitely take a quarterback there, and it's pretty interesting. They have Jordan Love going at 6 right now, according to Todd McShay's big board. So
Is Jordan Love
um,
going six?
they have Jordan Love going 6. Yeah, so 2 of 5, Love 6, and then they have Herbert at 13. I don't personally think that Herbert's going to slide to 13. Um, but yeah, the Chargers just don't make sense either because Tyrod Taylor, I think, still has potential to not not so much like ride on as a starter. He's more of a game manager, so he won't toss the game for you, but he could kind of fill that role where he plays 5-6 games of the season,
Mhm.
kind of like what he did in Cleveland, and then Baker came in. So, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, Jacksonville's always an option. I mean, if I were them, I would not draft a quarterback in the first round. I would go defensive player or possibly even wide receiver pair up with DJ Shark. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting with Cam Newton and seeing where he ends up. But
Yeah, and obviously this whole pandemic has probably slowed down the process for a lot of guys
mhm,
signing. So you have to look at whether or not doing physicals and stuff like that are probably changing. Like, and I saw some people on ESPN, some NFL football analysts saying like this is an in-person thing to do. It's not really a thing you just go on like FaceTime and
mhm.
sign it. This is things that you got to go in and see the facility and see the area, and it's obviously going to be hurting a lot of guys, maybe even their value too. I know there's still some guys out, you know, um, still in the market. Guys like Jadeveon Clowney, he was looking for like $20 million a year, and he
Mhm.
hasn't gotten that. So every time that day keeps going by and by that he's not getting drafted or he's not getting signed, a dollar figures keep going down and down. So he's a guy that is a big name, who's still out there, and you don't know if this whole thing has had how much of an impact it's had on signing guys, but it definitely has had some impact. But I think I want to put it towards the Eagles a little bit too, because I think they're probably done signing guys. I really like how they shored up the secondary a little bit, bringing in obviously Darius Slay, who's one of the best cornerbacks in the game, but Roby Coleman is a good slot guy who I think could fit right in. And then you put like Maddox in the other corner spot, or if Mills is struggling at safety, maybe move him to the other corner spot. But there's other options you can do that in the secondary. But they still got they brought in Javon Hargrave, who's a good guy you can put on the line, who's a young guy who can develop and play alongside Fletcher Cox, and who's really been looked at as a really good run stopper and can develop his pass rush game. So there's a lot of guys they brought in defensively I think is good, but they still have some holes offensively, especially on the wide receiver. They didn't let go of Alshon Jeffrey. They picked up his option, which sounds like they're going to ride with him, see what like they can get out of him. So as of right now, Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, and Greg Ward are starting wide receivers. They definitely need one more guy, but you still got Goddard and Ertz, and you still got the offensive line with Dillard, Sayamalu, Kelsey, Brooks, and Lane Johnson. So,
And you got Arthur Whiteside.
like I said, we got Ward and we got
No, but
well,
honestly, I think that's going to be a big thing this year. I mean, it was really rough to see Arthur Whiteside come in struggle last year. Everybody was expecting big things out of him, but this is year 2, and we've seen guys kind of like Aguilar come into their own game, and Aguilar did that in his second year, and he looked phenomenal. So I'm not going to completely give up on Arcega-Whiteside.
No, I'm not. I'm not either.
Yeah, I mean, he could come in this year and be well, but I don't want the Eagles to go in and rely on, like you said, Alshon Jeffrey, beat up, slow, older, doesn't really like Wentz from what we hear. Jackson, very, very fast, can really open up the length of the field, injury prone. Greg Ward, good, but can't put the entire trust and team on his back. Still not at that level. So, yeah,
Well, Howie
definitely
Roseman,
have some offensive holes they have to tie up.
yeah, Howie Roseman said early before this whole process started with free agency, he said we need to get younger. So you can do as much as you can in free agency, but with getting younger. But the best thing you can do is get young, is draft well, and that's been a struggle with him for as long as he's been in position. Before Chip Kelly era and after Chip Kelly era, he has trouble drafting guys and putting them in roles to be successful. So I think that this draft is going to be huge, especially a wide receiver. I think they need a young guy you can rely on somewhat. I'm not expecting him to come in and be a 1,000-yard receiver, but you need somebody you can rely on weekly. But yeah, he's going to really have to hit this one out of the ballpark. I think the first two picks are huge. I think that a wide receiver and a linebacker / safety would be an ideal first two picks for front office. So I don't know. I think it all depends on what lands at 21. I think if Justin Jefferson off the board, it's gonna be tempting to see if there's like a safety like what's his name, Deplet from LSU.
Deeplet.
Deeplet is his name, yeah.
Grant Deplet.
Or like Xavier McKinney is like another guy from Alabama. So I think that if you don't like the wide receivers there, but you see a safety or a linebacker there, you're like, well, he can come right in and he can play. So it's going to be a little less tempting probably with safety because they're probably going to put Mills in at safety. So, but if they see a linebacker, they're definitely going to do linebacker, I think.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because if they don't get the guy or if they don't feel like that guy's there in the first round, wide receivers, this, like we said, this class is so deep and it goes so far, into the second. Even you can probably get a good guy in the third round. I would be interested to see if they possibly consider trading that first round pick and maybe turning it into maybe a third and a 5 and a 6. So 5 or a 6, excuse me. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that pick if whoever they think that they want isn't there at that particular time. So,
is there any other topics you want to discuss about NFL free agency, or do you want to move on to?
No, I'm good on that. I mean, I think we're all caught up. Darby signed with the Redskins for a year.
For a year, yeah. So I think we get a comp pick for that too. I forget.
Yeah, where. Like a 4th or a 5th, is it?
Yeah, I think it's a 4th or 5th.
4th or 5th, yeah.
So, but that's another guy that you can get a pick out of him, and he's been solid. He hasn't been great, but I think bringing in Slay and Coleman will be more improvement than Darby and Mills last year. But yeah, we'll move on to. I know you want to discuss this, but we're going to be going over the last 4, or the last 10 years, the best championship games at Super Bowls for the past decade. I don't know if we really got a chance to discuss this on our weekly show at WCUR, but I love sports talk. But we talked about it a little bit. But I know that Mark wanted to give us something to talk about. I like this topic, and we can start off with you. I don't know what sport you want to talk, start off with, but whatever you want to do, I don't care.
I mean, I have to go with, by far, and I know this is biased coming from an Eagles fan, but Super Bowl, definitely, no doubt, 100%, has to be when the Eagles beat the Patriots. Debatably, may have been Tom Brady's best ever Super Bowl performance. 500 yards, five touchdowns, I think, and our Philadelphia Eagles came out with the dub. So I'm gonna have to go for sure, Eagles.
Yeah,
one. How about you?
I mean, that was one I was debating too, but I had a feeling since I was letting you go first, so you're probably gonna pick that one. But so I'll go. I'll go Super Bowl 49. Patriots Seahawks. That was a really good back and forth game, and it was the hot Seahawks defense, who one of the best defense of the decade with Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor. A lot of guys on that defense, and especially in that secondary, that was really good against the Patriots. That was I think it was their first Super Bowl, for a while since they won the first three earlier because they lost the next two against the Giants. So, that was a back and forth game, and that ultimately led to, Russell Wilson throwing an interception at the goal line and getting picked up by Malcolm Butler. So that was really one of the craziest endings to the Super Bowl. I think the craziest ending, and I think one of the best Super Bowls of the decade. It was as like a neutral fan, I remember watching that. I'm like, this is a great game, and that's all I want after every year. So if my team's not in it, I want to see a good game. So.
Yeah, no doubt. I was going to say, I mean, you're completely right. I was going to say that is the best Super Bowl other than the Eagles and Patriots.
Yeah.
That game was so electric. I remember watching it too and thinking that I really thought the Seahawks had it, and then they decided not to use Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah,
the only guy for the job on the two in the Super Bowl, and threw the interception, and that was that. So, I mean, that was by far one of the craziest Super Bowls I think ever. And even this year's was really, really good. I mean,
yeah, it was good.
The year before was just god awful with the Rams and the Patriots, but this year was really good. I mean, the Chiefs made it a really good game at the end, and obviously came back, ended up winning it in Patrick Mahomes' style, where he was just going off and just making outstanding plays. So he's going to be one to watch definitely for the next I hope decade and a half. So I guess next we'll move on to the NHL, and this one's pretty interesting. I'll let you go first because I got one that I thought was I remember watching one of the best ones.
Yeah, I was debating between two of them. The more recent one was 2018 Caps and Knights. I thought that was a pretty good series, even though it ended in 5 games. But I think one that, that stood out to me was 2011 Bruins and Canucks. And that was when Patrice Bergeron, was laying on his broken leg, I think. That's why I heard or what I remember. But, yeah, Game 7 it was a really entertaining game in Vancouver. So, I love, nothing better than a Game 7 in hockey. So I'll go Bruins, Vancouver Canucks. And that was a while ago, 2011, but that was still a really good series.
Yeah, that was definitely – I mean, we're sports fanatics, so we could pick 3 of these and say they were just as good as the other ones. But, yeah, definitely I remember that one with the Sundins. Alex Burrows, he was a beat for the Canucks.
Yeah, Brent Marchand, Patrice Bergeron.
Ryan Miller for the Canucks.
Tuukka Rask.
Yeah, just all these insane names for both teams. And at the time, I think the Canucks and the Bruins, I mean, obviously the Caps are really good with Ovi, and the Penguins are really good with Crosby, but they were like the powerhouses in both divisions. So I remember watching that. And then after that happened, when Boston won in Vancouver, you remember hearing about like that riot they threw in Vancouver and like flipping buses and
they weren't happy about all
just some crazy things. But that was an awesome series. For me, I went with and I mean I hate the Blackhawks just because they beat the Flyers in 2010 to win the Stanley Cup, but I'm gonna have to go to the 2015 Stanley Cup when the Blackhawks beat Tampa in 2013 when they beat Boston. I mean, and won 4-2. That was their second of the 3 Stanley Cups in 5 years,
that was the series when I think they were down like 4-3. Like in Game 6 or something, and then Bickle scored. It's like they scored like 2 goals in like the final minute to like.
Yeah, they were actually up 3-2 in the series, but they were down 2. They were down 2-1 in the game, and Bickle scored with like a minute 5 left, and then Dave Bolin scored with 59 seconds left, and they ended up winning 3-2 to win the cup. But I remember even watching that one, and I was like, man, this is insane. Like. As much as we hate the Blackhawks because, like I said, they beat us in 2010. I mean, Kane was just flying around. Taves was in his prime. Keith was playing great. Seabrook, all these guys that we kind of like grew up watching were at the forefront for sure. And then again, the Bruins. I mean, with they Tyler Seguin at that point, second overall pick.
Yeah.
In 2010, so. Yeah, that was definitely one of my favorite series in the last decade. But also the Blues and the Bruins last year were pretty good.
Yeah,
So
that was a fun series to watch too.
definitely a bunch you could pick. But
You want to go to here? You want to do baseball? I can start off with baseball too.
yeah, we can do baseball. That's cool.
I'll do 2011 again, and then I'll do the St. Louis Cardinals being the Texas Rangers, 4-3.
I like that one.
Yeah, because in Game 6 they were down to their final pitch, Cardinals, and then I forget who it was, some third baseman. I forget his name. David Freese. David Freese. He had a two RBI triple with a strike left to tie the game. And then in the extras, I think it was like the 11th or 12th inning or something, he had a walk-off home run in Game 6. So after that, the Rangers are done because they're one pitch away and they're emotionally drained that they just lost it.
And he was from St. Louis. That's why he was like that's why it was like so cool. Yeah, that is crazy. Yeah, I actually remember that now.
That was a great series. What about you?
Yeah, that was damn. I should have picked that one.
I beat you too.
That was a good one. The one I picked actually more recent. This was 2016. This was another great series. This was between the Chicago Cubs and the Cleveland Indians.
Great series.
Both teams coming in with insane records in their respective leagues. Cubs being in the National and the Indians being in the American. Cubs with 103 wins that year. Indians with 94. But the thing that was crazy to me was the MVP Ben Zobrist. In this 7-game series, and Game 7 was decided by the Cubs at what's it called in Cleveland, and they won 8-7 in 10 innings. So that was another one that was insane.
I forget who hit that tying home run. I don't know if it was in the 8th or the 9th, but yeah, he hit that home run down the left field line. That was I forget who it was, but that was a great series though.
Yeah, I think
playoff baseball is the best, man. I love it.
Yeah, it is. I'm pretty sure it was. I want to say it was Rizzo that hit that one. So
no, I don't think it was Rizzo. He played for the Indians. The guy who tied it for the Indians. They ultimately lost.
Oh, tied it. Yeah. My bad. I thought you meant won it.
Nah.
Was it Ramirez or Lindor?
It wasn't Lindor. I forget his name. I'm gonna look it up. But yeah, that was a really good series because it was back and forth, and it went down to the wire, and you thought that the Cubs were maybe going to, choke a little bit at the end, but they ultimately, won in extras. I think they beat them like 8-6 or something.
Yeah, they beat them 8-7.
8-7, yeah.
They scored 2 runs in the 10th, and then Cleveland scored one in the 10th, not enough. And
I really got to know hit this home run because it's going to
ended up losing.
No. Oh my God, it's starting to start pissing me off. Was it actually Lindor?
I want to say it was Lindor.
I really don't think it was Lindor, though. But I'm going to start getting pissed off. I need to figure this out. What year was it, 2016?
It was Rajai Davis.
Rajai Davis, that's what it was. He smoked it down the left field line, too. I think it was all for Romas Chapman or something.
It was, yeah, because Aroldis got the win.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great game, though. So what sport we have to do? Is it the NBA now?
Yeah, NBA.
Oh, that's the least favorite one for me.
So, I was going to start it off.
Yeah, go for it.
I was going to do first championship series for the NBA in the decade, and soon do 2010 NBA Finals between
Celtics Lakers. Yeah,
Celtics Lakers, baby. Yeah, Kobe against the big three and Garnett, Pierce, and Ray Allen. Went 7 games, and and the Lakers also, I forgot to mention that Paul Gasol, Ron Artest. So really good talent on both sides, but LA ended up winning game 6 and 7, and ended up taking the series. So I had to pick it though because Kobe. I mean, they went 57 and 25 that year.
Yeah.
And Boston on the other side went 50 and 32. So 2 great teams in their respective divisions, and 7-game series, pretty rare in the NBA, as I kind of mentioned to you before. Yeah. Before the show, that was the last 7-game series since in the NBA Finals. So
yeah, I that was one. Yeah, I was pretty young too. I mean, but that was when Kobe was in his prime.
Mhm.
and he was going against a dominant big three in Paul Pierce, KG, and Ray Allen. So for him to not win one championship in that era, but two in '09 or was it '08? I think they won. But yeah, that was obviously a great effort with Pau Gasol. I'm gonna go with 2016 when the Cavaliers came back 3-1 against the Warriors.
Oh yeah,
I was
that was 7, by the way. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that.
no, yeah, but I don't know that whole series between the Warriors or the whole dynasty run, but with both teams going to the finals. I got sick of it after this one, but it was really good. I mean, they were down 3-1, looked like they're out of all hope was lost. But LeBron and with a little help from Kyrie, put the shoulders on their or the team on their shoulders, and LeBron was unreal. I mean, the last 3 games, like it was one the greatest 3 game stretch of his career. And that block, that's probably the greatest basketball player of the decade. That block on Andre Iguodala,
Mm-hmm.
and he was so dominant in that series. Kyrie was really good too. He had that big shot, to give him the lead, and and he finally won a championship for Cleveland. So that was probably the one series I remember the most out of this decade.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm looking at the matchups, and it's just crazy to look. 2015 through 2018, the Cavs and the Warriors faced off.
Yeah,
Golden State winning 2015, Cavs 2016, and then Golden State 2017 4-1, and then a clean sweep in 2018. So
yeah,
it's crazy to look at. And then if you look even up a little further, you have the Heat in back-to-back finals, or 3-time finalists. And then the year before that, you have Lakers 3-time finalists in a row. So it's crazy the trend in the NBA from 2009 to 2019. There's been finalists consecutive years in a row, which I thought was pretty cool too. So
yeah. Basketball is the rare sport that you can see teams like that repeatedly go back to back to back with all those championship runs. You don't really see it much in hockey anymore. I think the last one we saw was the Blackhawks, and then in the other sports like the MLB and the NFL and Patriots, you'll see it. But it's really rare to see a team like that every year. Is going to go to the championship and represent their conference. So that was a really hell of a
yeah,
run by the Golden State Warriors. But still, though, LeBron in that 2016 series was dominant.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So.
So, what do you want to bring something up?
Yeah, so I was going to say just transitioning probably into our final thing. Like we said, not, professional sports, obviously not in session right now just due to the pandemic or surrounding us and everything going on. But, Connor, there are some sports still going on.
Oh, yeah, the
And we
Madden.
got the Madden, the GOAT Sim team. So basically what this is, for people that don't know, it's Madden is making these greatest of all time, the GOAT teams, basically just made up of players that have played for certain franchises and putting them up against each other and then simulating the game. So it kind of plays into if you're watching actual football. So
Yeah.
pretty interesting. They actually came out with like spreads on these.
Oh, they did. So you can actually bet on this?
Yeah, so I think Vegas opened. I'm not 100% sure, but I mean they put lines on it. So if they put lines on it, I guess you can actually bet it.
Yeah.
So the Chiefs yesterday were -3.5 to beat the Broncos, all-time team, and this is the all-time Chiefs team. They ended up winning 14-10. Packers were favored 2.5 to beat the Vikings. Yesterday. This is all yesterday. 14-9 they won. This is pretty interesting. The Ravens all-time team and the Browns all-time team. It was a pick 'em for the Ravens, and Ravens ended up winning 42-28. And then the Bucks were -1.5, and they beat the Saints, who were the underdogs, obviously 21-17. So it's pretty interesting, Connor. They put and for people that want to listen and check more out, it's on Bleacher Report Gridiron, which is like their football page.
Yeah.
And they show videos, but it looks like Brady is on this all-time team with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin on on
They
that
put him,
side.
they put him with the Buccaneers too. Oh boy, I'm sure Patriot fans were thrilled.
Yeah, so it's I don't know, dude. It's funny. I know we were talking a little bit before the show about it, but what do you think about this? You think
Well, it's
it's
cool.
interesting? You gonna
Yeah.
check it out?
Well, I got no something better to do, so I might as well watch it. I'm looking at the roster right now for the Eagles. They got a quarterback. They got three: Donovan McNabb, Randall Cunningham, and Carson Wentz is the top three quarterbacks. At running back, got Brian Westbrook, Steve Van Buren, and LaShawn McCoy. At wide receiver, you got Deshaun Jackson, Harold Carmichael, Tommy McDonald, and Jeremy Macklin. Tight end, you only got one. That's Zach Ertz. J.C. Kelsey, Jason Peters, Brandon Brooks, Sean Andrews, Lane Johnson at offensive line. So that's a
Wow.
pretty good start. And then defensive line is going to be really good. Got Reggie White, Fletcher Cox,
Jeez.
Brandon Graham, and then Trent Cole. That's a pretty good defensive line. And you got Chuck
Oh my.
Bednarik, Jeremiah Trotter, and Seth Joyner, a linebacker. And at cornerback, you got Troy Vincent, Eric Allen, and Alito Shepard. With Malcolm Jenkins and Brian Dawkins at safety, with kickers David Akers and Donnie Jones as punter. So that's a pretty good roster. That's a
Wow.
really good all-time Eagles roster. I'm actually, after reading that, I'm definitely going to have to watch it because I think it's coming up soon, the Eagles one. So,
Dude, the 2004 Eagles secondary was maybe the best secondary other than the Seahawks in this decade.
yeah, Lito Shepard, Sheldon
Dude,
Brown, Brian Dawkins, Troy
oh my
Vincent.
gosh.
Those are the guys that were,
That's insane. Trotter, Ike Reese,
Jeremiah Trotter,
Trent Cole. They were on the whole defense, dude. That
that was,
defense was insane.
that was a really good defense. They had a lot of good guys. But, yeah, I'm definitely going to watch it tonight. I'm excited, actually.
Yeah, dude. And then they did this the day before also. So just to give some more updates on it, they had so it is a round of 32 they began with. And on Monday, March 30th, which was 2 days ago, they had the Falcons playing the Panthers. They had the Cowboys playing the Redskins. They had the Patriots playing the Dolphins, and then the Colts playing the Jags. So it's dude, it's getting real. This is like the next coming of sports, I guess.
This is the new sports now for foreseeable future. So this is what we're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, we're going to be watching Madden soon. And Atlanta does have Mike Vick for anybody that's interested because
That's good.
he's probably like playing with Lamar Jackson times 10. It's probably insane.
So is there anything you want to do while wrapping it up? Anything you want to say or talk about? Or
Nah, man. I mean, just other than draft news, I mean, we'll probably have nothing really new to present in the next week. I mean, hopefully everybody's just staying well and staying safe, social distancing, and just staying inside so we can just get rid of this thing and get back to reality. So that's about it from me. But, we'll be back. We're going to try to do these weekly and just, talk and whoever listens enjoys it. So
yeah, same. And I hope everybody else is staying safe out there. I know it sucks for everybody here at the station that we're not being able to, bring all our sports content and music content to the viewers. But we try to make the most of it with the podcasting and shows we sometimes bring on air. But I appreciate Mark Rogers for coming on, and I appreciate everybody who's going to be listening to this. Hopefully next week we'll have some more news. Hopefully some more NFL news, and hopefully we can do something. Maybe draft night, we can do like a live podcast and do reactions, stuff like that. I'd definitely be down for that.
I like that for sure.
Yeah, so we'll definitely do that. But until next time, Connor Game alongside Mark Rogers. We'll see you guys next week.